Alright, so I hear and see a lot of nonsense about what the king of the combat shotgun is, and so let's do it the right way. Let's break it down into individual groups, compare them by features, what they actually have to bring to the table, and come to the true king of the combat shotgun world. So in round one, what is the king of the combat shotgun? Alright, first, let's go to the whiteboard of knowledge. What has been the longest service life? With the M97, I gave it 5 stars. It was issued in 1899. It fought in several engagements. Now, I know there are pictures of it carried by a soldier in the Persian Gulf War. I'm not going to count that because that's a rare occasion. I'm cutting it off at Vietnam. So we'll say 1899 to 1975. That's 76 years. The 1897 has served us. 76 years. That is amazing. Alright, let's go on to the Mossberg 590, or the 590A1. Now, I had troubles finding when it was originally issued, but on Mossberg's website, they're saying 1979. And it's going to present day, which is 2021. That is 42 years, earning it 4 stars. Alright, what about the Benelli 1014? Issued in 1999, serving to present day, giving it 22 years, it gets 2 stars compared to the other two. Not too bad. We're starting to get some truth here. So for service life, without a doubt, the M97 takes the cake. Alright, to the next category, reliability. The M97, because it's got the exposed hammer, and there's all these holes in the action, yes, this is reliable. This is made out of steel. This particular shotgun, my God, if it could talk, I can't imagine the stories it would tell. It's been around for a very, very long time. Just an absurd long time, and it's fired just an absurd amount of ammunition. But it has a lot of little parts, a lot of springs. I can't tell you exactly what the reliability would be like. I know it's going to be good, but it's not going to be excellent. So we are looking at, I'm giving it 4 stars. Mossberg 590A1. Beast of a shotgun. This is the only shotgun to pass the torture test 3443E. Now, I had looked to see if the Benelli had passed a similar test, and all I see is a bunch of redirections. Oh, it can go this far without any hard parts breakage. So no, it did not pass that test. And firing 3,000 rounds in a row, that's a tall order. So, I'm giving the Mossberg 590A1 5 stars because it is the only shotgun to pass this torture test. The Benelli, I'm giving it 2 stars because it didn't pass that torture test. And I found proof, like an actual armorer, they were already training armorers on how to fix these before it even entered the torture test. Not saying anything, but it kind of sounds like some palms were greased to get this one adopted. So, because it's semi-automatic, and semi-automatics are just finicky by nature, they're ammo sensitive, I know it didn't pass this test because otherwise they would brag about it. I'm giving it 2 stars on reliability. Now, I have already had reliability issues with this. I'm going to chalk it up to me because I was in the process of trying some different parts out, so it might have been a poor combination in parts, but that was less than 100 rounds and I was already having malfunctions. You can jump on the internet and see a whole bunch of people with brand new Benelli M4s or 1014s having issues because they fed it the wrong ammo. Semi-autos just don't have the reliability pump actions do. Not in shotguns yet. We're working on it, but we're just not there yet. So, the winner of this particular category, 590A1. Next category, power. Because they both shoot the same exact shell, the only thing that's going to make a difference in power is your barrel length. Well, what do we got? For the M97, we got a barrel length of 19.5 inches. For the 590A1, 20 inches. For the Benelli, 18.5. So obviously, because the only difference, since they're shooting the same ammo, is barrel length. For power, we got the 590A1 with the most power with a 20-inch barrel. Following right behind it is the M97 with a 19.5. And then behind that is the Benelli with an 18.5. Capacity. Now when checking the capacity, I'm just going to do the tube for a couple of different reasons. Number one, that is how everyone keeps their shotguns. Like, there's almost no tactical training videos that's like, hey, keep one in the pipe. They're all like, fill your tube, and then if you have to use it, rack and go. If it's in a car, rack and go. Everyone just does the tube. Now, I understand that gives an unfair advantage to the Benelli, but we're trying to keep this based in reality. So, we're going to be checking the capacity with Remington target loads. We're just going to see how many we can fit in the tube. So, we're going to start with the 97. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 in the tube. Now for the Benelli. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 in the tube. Now for the Mossberg 590A1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 in the tube. So, the 590A1 wins in capacity. Benelli is second place. And the M97 is in the third. Safety. That's where the 97 really takes a hit. This is not a safe shotgun to use. If you don't understand the mechanics of this and how this shotgun works, you can get someone hurt. This has an exposed hammer. If your thumb were to slip off this hammer, you would get an ND. Now, this is a drop safe shotgun, so I did give it 2 stars. But with the bolt that comes out the rear that can cut up your hand, the exposed hammer, that's all I can give it is 2 stars. Now the 590A1, I only gave it 3 stars. Yes, this is a much safer design. The bolt is not exposed. You got an actual safety on it. You don't have to let a hammer down. However, this is not drop safe. The Benelli, this is the safest shotgun out of all of them. It is drop safe. Now, I have seen some videos of people not understanding why shotguns are not drop safe. I will have a link in the description where I did a video explaining what makes a shotgun drop safe and why some of them just aren't. So yeah, check out the description. But yes, this is a drop safe shotgun. It doesn't have an exposed hammer. It's got a safety. This is the safest shotgun out of all of them. Alright, so in the last round, the M97 got 18 points, the 590A1 got 22 points, and the M1014 got 16 points. So let's go on to round number 2. First category is bayonet. Now, the Benelli doesn't take a bayonet, but I have to include that into it because you have to. You can't just exclude a category. Now, I gave the M97 only 3 stars in this particular category because it takes an obsolete, expensive bayonet that's very hard to get your hands on. If you want the original one, obviously you can get clones, but still, it's Where the hell's my bayonet? Oh, here we go. It's a beast. I mean, it's a hell of a bayonet, but it's just not very modern. So I outranked the 590A1 in this particular category because it takes this bayonet right here. It's a modern bayonet, looks pretty cool. It's usable as a knife. This thing on your hip and how it latches to you, it's just not very usable for anything other than a bayonet. I mean, yes, you could use this as a knife, but the blade is so long, the leverage that would be applied on this, you would get a bend like this one has right here. As you notice, it has the military cartouches, and it's got a bend in it. So somebody tried stabbing something that was a little bit too hard, and it started to bend the blade. So that is a problem with the bayonet. This is a shorter, and it's even a fatter blade. Bending this by stabbing something, I just don't see that happening. And it locks on very securely. And it comes off nice and easy. Not with the 97. That's something else. You get that on there, it gets stuck all the time. It's too long to where it could bend if you were to stab something too hard. This is a better bayonet in my opinion. Yes, this one does give you more reach. But that's how I scored it. You can score it differently at home if you're keeping track yourself. Next we got price. Now the M97, I'm giving it 1 star in price because the price is all over the place. And if you want an original military cartouches, low round count, like collector item in perfect condition, you're going to be up around like $5,000 to $8,000. They get expensive quick. Now you can build the clone for cheaper, or you can buy one that's been built for cheaper, but that's not the gun. If we're talking about the actual M97, you're going to be up around like $5,000, $8,000, maybe even more. So in this particular category, the Mossberg 590A1 takes the cake. Because you can get one brand new, 100% for like, what, $650, $700? Now you got the Benelli. This I'm only giving 2 stars because this is a $2,000 shotgun start price right now. Now why I say start price is because of 922R, it's not going to come in the configuration that you want it in. You're going to have to change out the tube. If you want to put a heat shield on like I did, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to change out the night sights. You're going to have to modify the feed port if it's like mine because the shells get stuck in there. Now, I don't know why this is, because they could just open up Benelli USA and import everything but say like the receiver or work around it so we can actually get the shotguns we want, because otherwise right now we're paying $2 grand to start. That's just to start. To get it how the military has it, this obviously isn't, because, you know, I got parts on there that the military would never use. The point is, to get it so it's to like how it's supposed to be, you're going to drop at least another grand on it. You're going to be in this probably minimal for like $3 grand. If you have problems like I did, it's probably going to be more like $4 grand. So, in that particular category, the Mossberg wins because it's a far cheaper shotgun. Ready to run right out of the box. You can literally grab it out of the box, put ammunition in it, and shoot. Then you got the Benelli. Well, it doesn't really run right out of the box. I mean, yeah, you could put rounds in it and shoot, but it's not the shotgun that you want. You're going to have to change the capacity, do all that crap. So you're basically spending $2 grand on the platform, then you start putting money into it, and then eventually you arrive at the shotgun you want. If you want the M97, well, you're going to have to track one down. Make sure it's original, which is hard to do. Even armed with all my collector books, I would still start sweating if I was about to buy an original one. I'd want to have it certified by like some sort of auction house or something, because they're so easy to clone, and they made so many of those shotguns. It's possible you're buying a fake and you're paying $8 grand for a fake. Yeah, you would never know the difference, but still, it's the principle that matters. So, the M97, that's way down on here. Alright, so now we got training time. I gave the M97 2 stars just because of how this works. Like, you have to push the pump forward, then press this button to unlock it. So, without somebody showing you how to do it, it's difficult. And then you got to put it on safety, you got to let the hammer down. This would take a while to train, not to mention it's a bead sight. A lot of people just can't run bead sight, so there's a huge training curve with that. It takes a long time to train on the M97. To get proficient with it, you really got to put some work into it. Alright, so next one, we got the 590A1. This particular one has ghost ring sights, which drastically reduces the training curve. It's so much easier to train somebody on ghost ring sights over a bead sight because looking at the sight, it's intuitive. It's self-explanatory. You pretty much know what to do. Somebody wrote an article about training time. They basically spend all of it in class and then they go out on the range, fire a couple of days of hot rounds, do a shoot house, and that's what they call a training. You could not do that with a bead sight. Well, you could, but you already got to kind of have a knack for it. Ghost ring sights, yes, that is feasible. I could take you in a classroom, go over the ins and outs of this, just exactly what to do, what the different functionality is, test you on it, make sure you know all that, then take you out on a range with a shotgun that's already zeroed, and you would be proficient. That just wouldn't happen with the bead sight. It could, in some cases. Some people just get it. They do, and they get it really quick, but most people don't. The average, the rule is they're not going to. So because this has bead sights, it's a pump action shotgun. The only extra control is right here for the pump release, which you don't even have to use if you pull the trigger. If you run into a malfunction, you bring the pump all the way to the rear, shake it, get all the ammo out of there, and then you start going to work again. This is very easy to train someone on with ghost ring sights. Extremely easy. I'm ranking this one the highest. I'm giving it 5 stars. Now the Benelli for training time, it does also have ghost ring sights. Yes, that's a thing. I mean, ghost ring sights are awesome for training people. But now we got extra controls. So we got your safety, which the Mossberg already has. So, you know, we'll not count that one. Then you got the bolt drop. Then you got the shell feed button. And then because it's a semi-auto, if you run into a malfunction, it's typically more difficult than just pumping it to the rear and shaking it, because now the bolt ain't going to stay forward. So say I ran into a malfunction, unless the hammer dropped. If the hammer dropped, then that's different. But if the hammer doesn't drop, I got to hold the bolt to the rear, try to get the malfunction out of there. It can be quite difficult to do. So I am rating the 590A1 over the Benelli just because this has a couple extra controls, and should you run into a malfunction, they're a bit harder to deal with. Wait! So what do we got here? For the M97, we got 8.5 pounds. So I'm giving that 3 stars. The Mossberg 590A1, we got 5 stars. And the M1014, it weighs the 590A1 weighs 8 pounds flat. The 1014 weighs 8.1. So, how does that all break down? Now, I know that you're going to argue about different weights. Like, hey, if you look, it's listed here. This is different. Well, this is how I have mine built. And because of 922R, all of these are going to be different depending on how this tube, like this is a carbon fiber tube, so this shaves off a whole bunch of weight. Otherwise, this would be a lot heavier shotgun. So because of 922R, they're not going to weigh the same. They're all going to be different. And if you outfit your shotgun, say you put on like a side sail or something like that, again, they're all going to be different. So I just weighed mine and then I scored them off of that. So how do we do in round number 2? The M97 scored 9 stars. Not too bad. The 590A1 is pushing itself in even a farther lead. It scored 19 stars. M1014, we got 10 stars. So let's jump in round number 3. Alright, round 3. So far, the winner is the 590A1 with 41. The M97's got 27, and the M1014 has got 26 stars. So let's get into the next categories and see if maybe one of those 2 shotguns can pull ahead of the 590A1. Alright, so category is speed. You take your shotgun from either low ready or down here, you identify a target, you aim, and you pull the trigger. In this particular case, this basically comes down to the sighting system. Now, how the sighting system speed works, we're going to just talk about shotguns, we're not going to get into other stuff, is your fastest is your bead sight, second is your ghost ring sight. Because say, for example, I'm tracking a target, I bring it up, as my ghost ring sights come into view, it blocks up my target, so it kills my field of view. Even if I'm already looking through my sights, there is a section I'm losing my field of view, which is going to slow me down. And yes, I checked this on a shot clock with multiple different shooters. It always comes out the same. Bead sight is always faster. So, because the only one on the table right now is the M97, and yes, I understand the Mossberg, you can get that with a bead sight on there. You don't have to get it with ghost rings. But to keep this comparison fair, we're going with the ones I have. But I did give it an extra star just because you could get a bead sight on there. So, the M97 gets 5 stars for the bead sight. Now, a follow-up shot, I also included that in. Now, because my particular 590A1, I only gave it 3 stars, but I did give it, 3 stars instead of 2 stars because you can get it with a bead sight. But now the reason I got the Benelli ranked second for speed is because of follow-up shots. These other 2 shotguns you have to pump, and yes, you can pump fast. You can pump it just about as fast as a semi-auto, but this is literally moving at the speed that it can function. You can't get any faster than that if your finger can move as fast as this can move. So, for that particular category, I gave the 97 5 stars because the first original shot is going to be faster than the other 2. It just is. I apologize, but that's just the way it is. But because of the follow-up shot having over the 590A1, the M1014, I'm giving that 4 stars, and the 590A1 only 3 stars because my particular setup is going to be slower in both categories. Follow-up shot plus the initial break shot. Choke. The M97 gets 0 stars because that doesn't come with the choke. That's just cylinder bore. Now, I understand what you're thinking right now. Like, hey, the military runs buckshot. Who really cares about their choke? You don't run a choke with buckshot or slugs. Well, hate to break this to you, but the military doesn't really use a shotgun anymore. The shotgun for the military is basically a door breacher. Like, that's what they do. Rarely ever, except in special occasions, like on a ship, or like a prison guard or something like that, will a shotgun ever be used? Because why would you pick a shotgun over like a saw or an M4 or an M14 or some sort of sniper rifle? Because a shotgun is such a niche tool, it can only be used in a very niche spot. Again, like on ships or like blowing locks off of a door. That's where a shotgun would be used. So yes, the choke does matter because shotguns are way more for civilian or police use. That's why I think it's comical when people hop in the comments and talk about their military extensiveness with a shotgun. Dude, shotguns don't really have a place in the military anymore, except for opening doors. That they do a lot. But a shotgun actually being pointed at something with a heartbeat, you need to look at cops or civilians. That's where they're going to have that done there. So, choke. M97 gets 0 stars because that just doesn't have a choke. It's cylinder bore. The 590A1, now I should have given it 0 stars because that particular barrel is cylinder bore, but I can change that barrel out and put on a choke, and I know that would come up in the comments section for an argument, so I did give it 2 stars. However, the Benelli comes factory with a choke, so if you want to go bird hunting or something like that, or use some sort of bird shot, well, you can with the M1014, and you can choke it, and you can change how that pattern's going to go. Yes, that is useless for slugs and buckshot. But again, there's really no military role for a shotgun anymore. So the choke is actually kind of important. Alright, ammunition. What I'm talking about here is the many different types of shotgun ammo. That's what makes a shotgun awesome, is because they make so much different ammo for it. Which one can run the most types of ammo? Because like the end of the world, there could be whatever type of ammo. You're just going to grab whatever you can. If there's birdshot there, you're going to grab that. If there's rubber slugs there, you're going to grab that. If there's slugs, doesn't matter which one can shoot the most amount of ammunition through it reliably. For this particular one, I gave the M97 5 stars because literally the loader is the bottom of the shotgun. The bottom of the shotgun comes out. So it would be next to impossible to put a shell so short in here it could not function it. This can basically shoot whatever the hell they make in 12 gauge. If they make it in 12 gauge, I should be able to feed it in the tube and it should go in there. As long as it's not over, what, 3.5 inches? This gun sold, I don't even know if it's stamped on there. So I don't know if this is 2 3/4 or 3.5. But usually when you run into problems with a shotgun, it's because the shell is too short. Now, for the Mossberg 590A1, I gave that 4 stars. Because of how the lifter is, if you have too short of a shell, it'll just drop out the bottom. Is that realistically going to happen? Probably not. And this probably does have a bigger chamber. So looking at it, I kind of wish I would have gave this probably 5 stars. And yeah, I'm going to switch that real quick. Boop, boop. Yes, because of the bigger chamber on the 590A1 and a shell realistically being too short for this, I mean, it's possible. They could make them that are too short, but the shell would have to be under 1 3/8 inches to just drop out the bottom. So it doesn't really matter. This will function it. Now with the Benelli, I only gave it 3 stars. Because this is semi-auto, they struggle with low power ammo. That's just the way they are. I would have only given it 2 or 1 star, but because this has the choke, that opens up the ability to run a lot more birdshot ammo more effectively because you can swap out a choke and put in a different choke if you want. Because my particular Mossberg doesn't have that option, that's why I gave it a little bit more stars. But yes, without a doubt, the 590A1 is going to be better for all different types of ammunition. Second would come the M97. Because it's pump action, it doesn't matter on the power of the shell, you just pump it again. And then obviously third is the Benelli. Next category, 1 in the pipe. Or you give your wife the shotgun in an emergency, or someone, or for whatever reason, there's 1 in the pipe, but it's not you firing the shotgun, you handed it to someone. Like, this is an emergency. Like, things have went sideways and you're like, here, there's 1 in the pipe, the safety's off, all you have to do is pull the trigger and shoot. So which one would excel in that category? Emergency situation, life is on the line, the gun is hot, it is ready to go, them being able to use that gun effectively. Well, the M97, I gave it 1 star. Because you got the hammer that comes back, the bolt that comes out of the rear that can hit them, the fact that it's a pump action, and you would have to try to explain how a pump action works, the fact that it's a bead sight, and they may not be familiar with a bead sight. And a bead sight isn't a very intuitive sighting system. The M97 only gets 1 star. Then we got the 590A1, I gave this 2 stars. I gave it 2 stars because 1, it's a pump action. So, yes, they could get that first round off, but if they miss, unless they already understand how a pump action works, that's it. They get 1 shot with this. But it does have ghost ring sight, so it's a little bit more intuitive. You'd be like, hey, it's loaded, there's 1 in the pipe. Should you have to fire it, bring it up to your shoulder and put the red dot in the center of this circle, and then put that onto your target. Pull the trigger, and it'll go off. But it's a pump action, so you'd either have to explain the functionality of a pump action, or they would only get a single shot. This is where the Benelli really excels. Because this is semi-auto, if there's 1 in the pipe, hell, we'll even say you ghost loaded it. So, you got 1 in the pipe, 1 on the carrier, and then what, 7 I think it was in the, I think 7 in the tube. Hey, you know, something comes around the corner here, just keep the kids back there, put the sights on the target, and just pull the trigger. And you miss, you pull the trigger again. You miss, you pull the trigger again. You miss, you pull the trigger again. This is super easy just to hand somebody and be like, hey, it's hot. All you have to do is pull the trigger. And they would be able to run that a lot better than those other two models because it's semi-auto, everything happens by itself. Just, hey, pull the trigger. That's it. Just keep pulling the trigger. That one outranks it. So where are we in round number 3? In round number 3, the M97 earned 10 stars. The 590A1 got 12 stars, and the M1014 got 17 stars. 590A1 is still winning by a long shot. Alright, round 4, let's get into it. So the first category is malfunctions. So, I'm only going to talk about ammunition malfunctions because otherwise it gets overly complicated, and I don't know how I would exactly break that down. I tried, but I'm like, no, we'll just keep it ammo malfunctions. So, you pull the trigger, you get a click, no bang. Clearing that malfunction. So, how are we going to break this down? Alright, so with the M97, I only gave it 4 stars just because of how the shotgun is put together. Say I get a click and no bang or a double feed. If I'm trying to clear out a double feed because of the way this receiver's designed, it kind of gets hung up. And the Mossberg does it way better. It's just open. I can push up right here. I can get my finger in there if I have to. It's very easy to clear malfunctions on a 590A1. Now, if it's just a click and no bang, because I gave this 5 stars, the reason I did that, so if I get a click, no bang, without taking it off my shoulder, without doing anything out of the ordinary, like just, I would go on like it never happened. I'd just pump this, it would kick out the shell that didn't fire, and I would press on. Now if I got a double feed, like I said, obviously I'd shake the crap out of it, or I'd put my finger under there and push it out. Super easy to clear malfunctions. Now for the Benelli. Pull up. Click, no bang. No matter what, my hand either needs to come off the trigger and cycle the bolt, or it needs to come like this and cycle the bolt, but now the bolt's going to lock back. So I either have to press this button, which will feed in another shell, or I have to remember to hit the feed beforehand. But like, let's say I have this Ghost loaded, so there's one on the carrier. Pull up, click, no bang. The quickest way to clear the malfunction is like this, but that's saying that it was a dead primer and there's one on the carrier, but then I still got to hit this button. Clearing the malfunction is very difficult. No matter what, you pretty much have to do something different. You have to either go like this, or you have to come down like here, shake it, hold the carrier open if it's some sort of double feed. These are a pain in the ass to clear malfunctions on. So, the Benelli only gets 3 stars because, yes, you can clear the malfunction and whatever. So I'm giving it 3 stars. Style, all of them get 5 stars because these are all badass looking shotguns. I like them all. I think they're all sick looking. As soon as I get this running properly, it's also going to move it into my Hall of Fame. Actual military use. Which one does the best for that? Well, with the M97, yes, I could throw this in a soldier's hands, but as soon as a part wore out or broke, because this is so obsolete, he wouldn't be able to get parts for it. It's only got a single bar on the slide, so they're kind of finicky sometimes. Sometimes it'll jump off of the bolt, so there can be problems there. I'm not going to rate this one very high. It's just not practical for actual military use, mostly because of its age. So, actual military use, I'm giving the M97 only 2 stars. Alright, for the Mossberg 500, we know, and this is a fact, the military pretty much uses them in 2 different capacities. 1 for blowing locks off of hinges. 2 for these very unusual niche roles, like on a ship, or guarding a prison or something like that. Like, the roles are extremely limited, so how would it perform in those 2 roles? Well, because of this platform, if you wanted to, you could go with a full-length one like this, and put it on a ship, or like a prison guard. Or you can go with shorter models and put it on a ship or a prison guard. Or if it's going to do the primary use, which is just blow locks off hinges, or blow hinges off and blow locks off, you can put a pistol grip on here, and you can run like a 14.5-inch barrel and have it secured to your pack. Pull it out, boom, 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 get out of the way, let the stack go in while you're resecuring this, and then pulling out your M4. This does very well in actual military service. Plus, if you're on a prison and you want to hit somebody running with a less than lethal, because it's a pump action, it would function just like normal. You wouldn't have to single feed it in. It would run just totally normal like every other pump action. It would fire it irregardless of the actual load that you're running in there because it's a pump action. Everything's mechanical. So what about the Benelli for actual military service? Yes, on a ship or something, this would do okay. A full-length shotgun, running just standard buckshot, something like that. It's going to function most of the time. However, you know, you got salt water that gets in there. Now, they do put a chrome line bore and a chrome line carrier on here, which is awesome, because the Mossberg don't even do that. So it's going to last a really long time without burning out a barrel or stuff like that. But you're going to have rusting issues on the Mossberg that a lot of this won't, unless you get the Mossberg Marine, which is coated, but, you know, we're just getting into semantics. Anyway, the point is, like a full-length shotgun like this would work okay on a ship running buckshot. You want to put less than lethal and be like on a prison or something like that, well, now you got to single feed them in. So it's going to suck like that. Let's say you're going to be using this for blowing locks and hinges. Well, now you got a full-length shotgun, so you're going to have to pull this bad boy out, blow the hinges, get out of the way so the stack can go in while you restow this and switch to your M4, which is, this thing's so huge, you would almost have to use this as a primary weapon. So then you'd blow the locks and hinges and then you'd go back on the rear of the stack and be like rear security or something like that. It would really limit the soldier's ability not being able to stow this away and switching back to an M4. I would be upset if I was picked for the shotgun guy. I'd be like, no, what? I gotta carry this? I mean, yes, I could carry another rifle, but dude, this thing is huge. I might as well just make it my primary weapon, which is gonna make me useless unless somebody comes around the corner like 30 yards away from me. This is ridiculous. How did I draw the short straw and now I have to either carry around 2 long guns or use this as a primary gun? I'd be pissed. So, as an actual military service, no, I'm rating this below the 590A1. I'm only giving this 4 stars because, yes, it would be fine in a ship, but you start putting it in like prison rolls with less than lethal, or you want to shoot less than lethal, or you're using it to blow locks and hinges, this thing would be a huge hindrance compared to like a pistol grip 590A1. So, in that particular category, I'm putting the 590A1 above the Benelli, because the 590A1 is just more versatile. It'll do those roles better. Alright, so what about actual civilian use? Because of the rarity and the price of the M97, I'm only giving this a single star. As a collector item, that's basically where it's going to go as. Yes, I shoot the shit out of mine, and it's ultimately going to be hung on the wall because the parts are just getting wore out to the point to where I'd either have to tear this gun down and fully rebuild it with aftermarket parts, which I feel kind of kills it. I'd rather keep the original Winchester parts there. So I'm only giving it 1 star for actual civilian use. And it's only getting that 1 star because of the collectability behind it. Alright, so what about the Mossberg? Alright, for actual civilian use, I am giving this 5 stars because I could put a slug barrel on here. The barrels are cheap, they're easy to change. I could put a choke barrel on here. It's affordable. I could get a shockwave version of this and carry it for a pistol. Like, there's just so many options with this, it's ridiculous. You can literally do just about anything with this. Now on to the Benelli. Now I'm giving this 3 stars because it's got the choke. It's semi-automatic. You could put on a hunting barrel if you want. I don't think you can run bead sight, but you really couldn't with mine either unless you got one that started with a bead sight. I don't know if they make these though with bead sights. That's why I gave it a little bit less. If I knew for sure they made these with bead sights, so I'm almost positive they don't, then yes, it would be better because then you could shoot it in trap or turkey hunting or something like that. Because typically a hunter, he's going to want to run a bead sight just because of the faster shot. The first shot is the one that typically counts in hunting, and with a bead sight, you can break it faster. It's just the way it is. Not to mention the high price. You can't make this into a pistol. well, you can't make that one into a pistol either, but you can get one that's already a pistol. The point is, like, because of the recoil rod that comes through here, you're stuck with basically a full-length stock. You can get the collapsible one, but it's still pretty long. And it will never be considered a pistol. Where the Mossberg, it can be considered a pistol. It's also a reason why this can't have a pistol grip, just the standard pistol grip on there, and stowed behind their back with like a 14-inch barrel, because of the recoil rod that goes through there that prevents that from happening. You can never run just a pistol grip on this. So the limited options, the price on it, for civilian use, the Mossberg 590A1 definitely takes the cake. So, now that we got it all done, how are we sitting for score? And yes, I could do more categories, but I know this video is already like a half an hour long. So we got the M97, we got 49 stars. Not too bad. It's respectable. 590A1, 73 stars. Benelli M4 or the 1014, 57 stars. Oh, that was another reason I wanted to talk on with the civilian too. Because of 922R, it won't come in this configuration. It's not very good for civilian use. So, what is the king of the combat shotgun, the most effective combat shotgun, the best combat shotgun ever? Arguably, and in my mind, without a doubt, is the Mossberg 590A1. This is the king. It just scores so well on all the different levels. This is the king of the combat shotgun. And anyone that tries to tell you this is, either doesn't know shit about history, doesn't understand the military, doesn't understand what the military does with a shotgun, or they just plain don't understand shotguns themselves, or they have some sort of learning disability. This is not the king of the combat shotgun. This is the king of the most expensive shotgun. I think the AA-12 might actually take that name, so really it's the king of Shit Hill. So whatever. Without a doubt, 590A1, the best shotgun for combat shotgun, civilian use. It is all around a better shotgun than any of the other ones. That's my mind. You may just be like, well, I want the most expensive shotgun, which makes it the king because I want it. If that makes any sense. But anyway, I hope this video had shed some light onto combat shotguns and the king of combat shotguns, or at least was just plain entertaining. If you'd like to help support the channel, got my Patreon right there. I also have affiliate links in the description down below. Just by clicking on those links, even if you don't purchase what that particular link is for, just clicking on that and then doing the Amazon shopping you were already going to do anyway, and a little kickback for it because you came there off my channel. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.